Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Minimalist Gourmet, where today I'll be showing you how to make shepherd's pie. This classic comfort food is both delicious and really easy to make. I'll show you how to do it. Let's get started. Peel and cube 1.5 pounds of potatoes. That's going to be about 4 large ones. I'm using yellow today, but russets are classic. Put these in some water and allow them to boil for about 15 to 20 minutes, or until they are pierced easily with a fork just like this. Once cooked, drain and set aside for about 10 or 15 minutes at room temperature to cool down a little bit before we move on to the next step. With our potatoes still warm but not steaming hot, we're going to begin building our mash. We're going to add 1/2 of a cup heavy cream that we've allowed to come to room temperature. To this, we're going to add about 3/4 of a teaspoon salt and 1/2 teaspoon ground black pepper. Give this all a nice good mash. Finish our mash with 1/3 of a cup cheese. I'm going to use Parmesan today, but white cheddar, of course, is very classic. We're going to add in our cheese and mix that in with our potatoes before adding our last ingredient, which is going to be 1 egg. Crack this in, and then instead of using our masher, we're actually going to go ahead and mix this in. Now, the reason you didn't want your potatoes to be steaming hot is because if you crack that egg into steaming hot potatoes, well, you'd have scrambled eggs, and that's no good. Once your mash looks like this and is nice and smooth, go ahead and give it a taste for seasoning, check it, and if it's good, we're going to go ahead and set that aside and move on to the rest of our filling. I have 1 pound of ground beef in a large skillet, and technically since I'm using ground beef, yes, that makes this a cottage pie, not a shepherd's pie. If you want to be traditional, then you would use 1 pound of ground lamb. Whichever meat you're using, we'll begin seasoning it with 1 teaspoon of salt and about 1/2 teaspoon of ground black pepper. Cook this over medium-high heat until this first side gets brown and give everything a flip. Now, you want to cook this continuing to break it up into small pieces until it's about 75–80% of the way done, and then once it's reached this stage, you're going to make a small well in the middle of your pan and add in your next ingredient, which is going to be 1 medium onion here cut into cubes. 1 cup of carrots that have been diced small go in, and 1 cup of frozen peas. 3 cloves of garlic diced fine go in, and we give everything a mix. By the way, a cup of corn would go great here as well. You need about 4 tablespoons of fat total, but my lean ground beef only had about 2 tablespoons of fat left in the pan, so I'm adding 2 tablespoons of butter here to get that up to a total of 4 tablespoons. You can use any combination of fat you'd like between beef fat, butter, oil, whatever you need to do. You want about 4 tablespoons in total. We're going to add a nice big spoonful of tomato paste into our mix and give that a stir. And now it's time to build our roux by adding flour. We're going to add equal parts flour to fat, so we have 4 tablespoons of fat. We're going to add 4 tablespoons of all-purpose flour right on top of our mixture here, and then we're going to mix that in very well. You want to make sure that each one of those flour molecules are covered completely with this fat. Now we're going to cook this mixture, our roux, over this heat for about 1 to 2 more minutes to get that raw flour flavor out. I'm going to add in here some mixed herbs. Rosemary and thyme are classic. I'm adding 2 cups of beef broth, and I've dissolved 2 beef bouillon cubes in 1 cup of boiling water here, and I'm going to add 1 more cup of hot water to bring that up to 2 cups total. If you like your shepherd's pie to have a lot more gravy, then go ahead and add a 1/3 cup of beef broth at this point. Mix the broth in well so that the roux is evenly distributed, and add a nice few shakes of Worcestershire sauce to this. As I said, I really enjoy my shepherd's pie to be a little thicker on the gravy side, so this looks perfect to me. If you want it to be a little thicker or a little thinner, go ahead and adjust here. We're also going to taste it and adjust for any seasonings. If we need to add anything, we want to make sure to add it now. This both tastes and looks good to me, so I think we're ready to move on to assembly. To assemble, I'll be using an 8x8 pan, but anything of a similar size will work. You want to pour your beef and vegetable mixture into the bottom and make an even layer. Use your spatula to smooth this out into an even layer and push it out into all the corners, but do not press this down and try to make like a patty or a cake. That's not what you're looking for. Take spoonfuls of your mashed potatoes and place them evenly over the top of your meat and vegetable layer. Once you're done spooning the mashed potatoes out over the top, spread them out evenly using the back of your spoon. Try to push them into all the corners and crevices of your pan so that it makes a nice even layer and completely covers up the beef. Now, although this is unnecessary, it does look nice and helps with browning. So I like to drag my spoon across the top to create these nooks and crevices that will brown nicely in the oven. You can also use a fork and drag it across the top. That will work equally as well. We're going to bake this in a 400-degree oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. After baking for 35 minutes, I pulled this out and let it sit at room temperature for about 15 minutes, and here is my finished shepherd's pie. All there is left now to do is portion this out. And remember that there is a lot of protein with the cheese and the egg that's going to stick to the side of the pan because it's kind of gooey. So if you want to make this out in one nice solid piece, just take your time here and run your spatula along the edge of your pan. Guys, it really is just that simple to make this delicious comfort food in your own kitchen tonight. In fact, if you do, let me know how it goes in the comments below. And as always, the recipe is in the description. Check it out. Thank each and every one of you so much for watching. I do appreciate your time today. I hope to see you again here real soon on the next Minimalist Gourmet.